Hey guys, I wanted to jump on here and hopefully make this a quick, short video. But I wanted to share with you guys about an interesting phenomenon that I have noticed. Something I think that's really, really important for us. This is like really foundational for us to grasp and to integrate. So what I've noticed is that because of the level of social conditioning that most people are carrying within their being, a lot of people are not actually allowing themselves to want what they want, to be honest with themselves about who they are, to be honest with themselves about what they want, about what their needs are. And this is natural when we live in a largely unnatural world. It's not necessarily natural if we had been evolved to believe that we could really create what it is that we wanted to create. But there's a reason why, many people adapted that way, to not actually allowing themselves to own what they need and own who they are and own their medicine and their magic in the world. So here's what's interesting is that when we deny a fundamental and primary need or desire or piece of our blueprint or template, what happens is we literally have to fracture from that aspect of ourselves. And there's this really interesting phenomenon that takes place where when we fracture from that, it's painful, right? It's painful for us to internally disconnect from a need or, like I said, an aspect of our desire or template. That aspect of us is oftentimes something that we've already decided on some internal level. We've internalized the perpetrator, the judge, the critic, whatever it is that says that this thing is not going to allow us to move forward. Whatever it is that we've decided we can't actually own about ourselves, because it's like, that's not gonna, we have an internal war going on. And what this phenomenon is that it's like this interesting thing where we end up pushing away an aspect of self because we're afraid that if we own that, it's going to cause us pain. But the pain isn't actually because there's something painful about owning that part. The pain is in the fact that we have already disconnected from our actual needs from that part of ourselves. And we're actually scapegoating the aspect that we have fragmented from, as if it is the problem, but the problem is that we see it as a problem that can't actually be integrated into the whole of who we are. So I want to give you a couple of examples. I spoke to somebody earlier today who wanted to be a stay-at-home, like a homemaker. And they had never actually allowed themselves to admit that, because there was so much internalized judgment about, oh, you're going to have somebody else take care of you, or what that meant, that it wasn't even allowed. And in that, at least if we can own these aspects of ourselves, at least if we can own the actual needs that we have, then we can be in reality, then we can actually start to create the very thing that we want to create, instead of just fragmenting from that part of ourselves and judging it as if there's something wrong with it, right? Because that's the message that so much of us got, that who and what you are, what you need, all of that stuff, don't even bother going after it. You're not going to have that. You're too much. It's too much. You're not powerful enough. Part of how we heal that is we have to bring those aspects of ourselves back into the consciousness. They are not going to cause us more pain to own our needs. It's the fact that we think that our needs and our desires are the problem when separating from them is the problem and perpetuates the very pain that those aspects of us live in by being disconnected. And a lot of times what the internal part, if you check in with the part that's criticizing or judging, like in the first example I gave you with the person who's the homemaker, what is that, or the person who wanted to truly be the homemaker, what is it that other part is trying to actually get by getting you to believe that that's wrong? What is it wanting? Is there some truth in that, right? Because we have to really listen to the different aspects, because this is a good example. I'm just going to share some examples of things that happened today and in other moments. I've seen people who go into the vibration of, I want somebody to, they say that it's a genuine need for them. I want to be a homemaker, right? There's an organic field of that where the person is not actually bypassing themselves, and that is a genuine need and desire. And there are situations where a person has not actually stabilized certain fields within themselves, and they're using that as an opportunity to try to have a child aspect get taken care of by someone else and not actually resurrect that within themselves. That is a different situation. So we have to really look at all the different internal parts that are happening. But I want to give you another example. So for a lot of people, there's a part of them that like really wants connection. And I think that we have to be really honest with ourselves. Like, I want to say this on this platform because I want to start to normalize some of these things, that you guys, the level of disconnection that many people have experienced has created this polarization to where there's an aspect of them that is actually so desperate for connection, it would like crawl inside of another person's body. It's that soul level merging craving that we have for source to be in those unified fields. And it also comes from a deep level of starvation. And we also have aspects that want to probably do the exact opposite, right? We have to be honest with ourselves about these things. And so there was somebody who wasn't allowing themselves to own that they had a part of them that wanted connection, because it felt like, well, it's too much connection. You're wanting too much, right? And if we really look at it, it's like, again, how much of this is organic and how much of this is a trauma response? Because what I think, it's nuance, right? Like, if you have an aspect of you that feels like it's starving and you have internal criticism like, oh, you're too much, you're too much. Well, if we remove the criticism and what's left is this hungry child, and then you even remotely meet the needs of that child, is it actually insatiable? You know, because sometimes we have this idea with this internal criticism. I mean, in this example of this part that we would push away, that let's say really wants connection. I just lost my train of thought. So how much, is it true that it's really insatiable? Have you, when we actually invite that aspect to be okay, when we make that okay, and then we can take action in our lives to support that aspect of ourselves, to meet those needs, does the hunger go away? Does the polarization go away? And if it does, then that means, wow, we're actually meeting our needs. You know, it's like sometimes we're so afraid that if we invite that thing in, that we're going to be disappointed, we're going to fall from, right? We have to really examine what is the payoff also of not allowing ourselves to own these aspects of ourselves. Is it that we don't want to fall from grace? Whatever it is, we've got to dismantle this so that we are owning those aspects, owning them, so we can do something about it. That is actually how to heal it. That's how to transform this. The first step. If we have a part of us that wants connection and we're disowning that part, how the fuck are we supposed to even start moving towards connection in the external when we're not even allowing ourselves to have the part of us that wants connection? We got to bring them in first. So this was really the phenomenon that I just wanted to highlight and talk about. It's really allowing ourselves to be honest about what we need, what we want, and looking at the ways in which we may be scapegoating these aspects of ourselves as if they are the reason why we are in pain, instead of seeing that it's the very separation from them that has caused the pain. And by bringing those aspects back in consciously, re-parenting from the aware ego, right? Because the critic or whatever it is that's trying to take care of that, the dynamic is out of balance. So we're stepping in as a consciousness going, well, what I've learned is that it doesn't actually work to try to suppress my needs. It doesn't actually work to keep myself small, to not own who I actually am. So how do we reconnect with the aspect of us that needs that, not scapegoat them, and then move forward as the powerful creators that we are? That's really what this is about. Yeah. Thank you also to the beings who inspired this video to come through. Any questions, comments? I might hang out here for just a minute and then I'm gonna pop off. Oh, one last thing. The aspects of us that are judgmental or critical are oftentimes, like I was saying, it's the internalized perpetrator. It's the internalized matrix. It's the internalized, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's literally just an aspect of us that values something different that we need to reorient. You know, most people have parts of themselves that are trying to take care of vulnerabilities that can actually support their system in a completely different way. And I have spoken about this, but I just feel the call to mention this in this video. I've spoken about the fact that, you know, identifying your parts doesn't fragment you farther. It just makes you aware of it so that you can be the conductor, the maestro of the internal orchestra consciously. Chris, how's it going, Chris? I'm doing pretty well, thank you. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna hop off here. I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment, share this if it was useful, or if you think anybody else would find it useful. It helps. All right, bye, guys.